Hi, hope you're doing okay. Having a great day. I am. Anyway, I just been thinking about some more manipulation tactics, so I thought I'd let you know them. Basically, when they take your words and they switch them around to make them sound like something that you didn't say, but something they want you to say, they want you to think the way that they think. Manipulators trying to is working through mind control with everything that they do. So when they ask you to do something and you don't agree with them or you dislike something that's going on, then they want to pretend that you're okay with it. They can get you. So they might say, I thought we could do this today. And you say, well, I actually didn't want to do that. I thought we could do something else. And then they're like, don't like your idea, so they want to persuade you into liking their idea. So you say, yeah, I thought we would do something else, but you didn't actually say no. You didn't actually say, no, I don't want to do that. So you might, be getting ready to go somewhere, and then you go somewhere and you show up to the exact place that they wanted to take you. And you're like, how did we end up here? And they'll say, well, you didn't say that you didn't want to come here. You said there was something else you wanted to do, but we can do that too. You didn't say that you didn't want to come here. They'll take whatever you say and they'll switch it around. And that's just like a basic thing. But that's how you'll get set up to end up somewhere that you don't even want to go because they'll end up taking you somewhere that you said that you didn't want to go. And so that's one thing that they can do. They also will always turn your no into a yes. So you might say, no, directly because you learned your lesson. You ended up somewhere that you didn't want to be. You already told them you didn't want to go, but they took you there anyway. So now you're like, okay, I'll be more careful. I'll be more direct. So I'll say no. So they'll say something like, um, did you, would you like to go do this? And you'll say, no, I don't want to do that. And so they'll be like, well, why don't you want to do that? Last time that we did this, we enjoyed ourselves. And so they'll continue like jostling with you to get you to say, yeah, they'll do whatever they can to do it. They'll say, we could stop at your favorite place. And I mean, sometimes this isn't just manipulation because, you want to have give and take in a relationship. You want to work things out, come to an agreement. But this is distinctly you saying no, that you don't want to do something, them going ahead and doing it anyway. Somehow you end up in the car and you're heading that place because they'll be like, hey, you want to go out for ice cream? And so you're going out for ice cream, but they're swinging by that place that you didn't want to go. So they'll never take your no for an answer. You could tell them no, you don't want to be in a relationship anymore, and they'll call you. They'll be on your phone every single day for years. You can tell them no, you don't like a specific thing, and they'll continue to bring you that specific thing. You're like, I don't like this thing. Don't bring me this. No, I don't want it. Or a certain person you're uncomfortable with. You'll say, no, I don't want to go to their house, but somehow you'll end up in the car on the way home from church at the very person's house that you don't want to be at. They will not take no for an answer. When you're with a manipulator, they will manipulate you out of your no. So it's really important when you leave a toxic or a dysfunctional relationship that you reestablish your no's because you actually come to a point where they make you comfortable with saying no, but not being able to meet it. Like your no doesn't stick. You get accustomed to that. It doesn't matter what it is. Like absolutely, it doesn't matter what it is. It'll be the most mundane thing. Like, do you want to watch this TV show I'm watching over here? No, I rather do this over here. And then a few minutes later, like, you gotta come over here, you gotta see this. Before you know it, you're watching that TV show. You could be sitting down watching television, watching something you want to watch, and they'll say, oh, don't you remember that other show's on right now? Let's change the channel. And you'll say, no, I'm in the middle of watching this. And they'll say, let me just change the channel for a minute. We can put it right back on your show. And before you know it, you're watching their show. You're watching the exact show that you said no to. So with a manipulator, a toxic person, or an abuser, your no doesn't mean anything. Your no means you have a nerve to put up some kind of a boundary that they get to reestablish as a yes. So they don't, when you sign up with a manipulator or a toxic person, you're signing away your rights to say no. It almost doesn't matter what it is. If you decide that you don't want to have sex, which is your free will to say no, you don't want to have sex, you've done something wrong. It's a crime. You're you don't have a right to tell someone in your relationship no that you don't want to have sex with them. Like that's not allowed. So the minute that you act out in that manner, that no, we're not having sex, then that means okay, well now you're breaking rules that you don't even exist. You don't know that these rules exist because they're entitled to you because you're in a relationship. You actually lose your right to say no. And so basically switch your words around so that they can get what they want. And so you will end up in places and they'll say, why are we here? I didn't want to here. And they'll say, well, you didn't say you didn't want to come here when you just hint to them. So you always have to be really, really direct, and you should be anyway. But just saying I'd rather not is pretty indirect. And most people say, oh, they said I rather not do something. And they're like, that's means the person rather not do it. Well, saying something like I rather not to a toxic person doesn't mean anything. Like you're not even saying no, there's no way around that. Your I rather not just means go ahead, do whatever it is that you want. It doesn't matter what I because it really doesn't matter what you want. They're going to do what they're going to do. They just need you to give them something that gives them the heads up that they can take advantage. That's what they're looking. So, so a direct no, and you almost have the same thing. People kind of look at you weird. You'll look like a troublemaker because you have already said things to this person like, I rather not. No, thank you. Let's not do that. Today's not a good day. Very social answers, keeping, you know, healthy. But because that never worked for you, now when they start to ask you questions and you mean no, because you're like, I'm not getting wrapped up in that over there, or going to that person's house, or doing that again because I really didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable or whatever. Or, you're not having sex with this person because they are emotionally unstable, and having sex with an emotionally unstable person can be very conflicting in your own emotions, which is a whole different subject. But so you basically tell this person no in a very clear no, like that eventually. Like, no, I don't want to do that. And so people think you're hard, people think you're mean. You have to spend years trying to tell this person that you don't mean yeah, that you mean no. So now they disregard your no. So now your no sounds like no. And so this is like at a point where when you have to tell somebody no like that, you don't need to be in a relationship with that because they have not been hearing you out. And so a lot of people who have been in relationships with manipulators and abusers, they come out the other side being very untrustworthy, very direct, ready to say no. They have their guard up, and so they're motivated to back away from people or come off strong. And it's not their fault, it's because they've had to do that to survive. So I just wanted to bring that up. But there's so many other ways they take the word that you say out of just totally out of context, make it interpret what they need to say. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Let's just say there was an event, had a fight. Let's just say they were drunk, for instance. You can forget about them having any honest response to anything that happens while they're drunk. If somebody gets hurt or there's some kind of a discrepancy, you can forget it. They were drunk, nothing they did mattered, they don't remember, and everybody just needs to forget about it because they're not going to take any responsibility. And you think the fact that they were drunk is just a really good way to say, oh, well, if I hurt your feelings or I did something to upset somebody, if I offended somebody, if I was loud, if I was cussing, profane, whatever, that it doesn't really matter because I was drunk. So a lot of times abusers use alcohol, drug use as an excuse to continue abusing. So it's not as if somebody who is an alcoholic or a drug addict is actually more apt to abuse. That's not really the case. Like people can Obviously, alcohol and drugs can make people more hostile. That's true, but they already have to be an abuse to be abusive. And so, if you want to find out about that, one deep drop has a lot of information on that. He's like some alcoholic drug addicts are never abused, and they're just always alcohol drug addict, and they're never an abuser. But an abuser who uses alcohol or drugs likes to use it as an excuse, will fall back and use it as an excuse for their behavior. And they also will act more hostile because of the alcohol or drug, but they're already an abuser. It just gives them an excuse to up the level to use. And that's what abuse would do. They actually use alcohol and drugs as an excuse to be more abusive. So they'll be more verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive under the influence of alcohol or drug. And so they will definitely, if they're underneath alcohol and drugs, misinterpret everything you say to use for your advantage, to their advantage. And so they will switch your wording around, and they will switch the circumstances around, and they will completely disregard that they did anything wrong because they can't recall it. And so there's a lot of pushing things under the rug and manipulation tactics they use. And drug and alcohol use is a way to manipulate you, especially if they know you want to be sober. Like if you're sober and you want your family to be sober, they'll use drugs and alcohol just to get under your skin and be drunk and just to show you that they're going to do what they want to do. If they want to be drunk in the middle of the day, they can be drunk in the middle of the day. And that's their prerogative. They don't have to follow your rules. So that's basically they use that against you if you're sober and you want to keep, sober during the day or whatever, and everyone's sober, they'll show up drunk in the middle of the day just because they can, because that's what they do. It's a way to manipulate you. It manipulates your rules and it puts everybody else in the house off guard. It makes everybody else think, oh, we don't really have to follow the rules of this house. We don't need to follow these rules. We can do what we want. And that's another thing that manipulators do. I could go on all day. They want to manipulate your rules or your standards or your values. They want to show that they're not going to follow them, that they have their own. And that leaves it where anybody else around you in your vicinity, your children, your family, looks at you as if your values and your standards are out of line. And that leads to other people having to follow the same standards and values and rules in your own house because let's just say you live with the abuser, they'll naturally follow the abuser's rules because they are more lax. So people don't want to follow rules and they're not going to help you instate these rules. Instead, they'll let everybody else follow their moral lax. And basically, it's a way to manipulate you out of your rights, your personal rights, and your values. And so to keep that in mind, that your words are going to be manipulated, that they can use them against you down the road to take them. A lot of times, people at the end of relationships, they record all their, and that's really good advice. Everybody should do. Well, have a great day. Thank you.